Wow, we just saw an insane event play out in the United Kingdom, and of course I am talking about the event that just unfolded on the London Bridge. An event that is restoring some people's faith in humanity, but I believe there are some important takeaways that we will be discussing in this video about exactly what just happened. The information coming out right now is just astounding, to say the least. But of course, you're not going to hear on the mainstream media. And you're only hearing it here because you're watching an independent media organization that is financed by you, the viewer. And if you find this information valuable, videos like this that are available for you for free, don't just share them, but vote with your dollar and incentivize more of them to be produced and made for and by you. WeAreChange.org/donate is the website. Check it out down below after watching this video and evaluating everything yourself. Now, the details of exactly what just happened over in London is extremely important, and I bet a lot of these details are going to be either obscured or left out in the mainstream media reporting. Just moments ago, around 3 p.m. on November 29th, 2019, a Pakistani man named Usman Khan decided to strap himself with a fake suicide vest, as well as taping his hands to butcher knives and going out on an attack that has left 3 people injured and 2 of them dead. An attack that could have been way, way, way worse if it wasn't for the brave actions of individuals who, by the way, didn't do what they were told to do by the authorities during these kinds of incidences. And again, this is just mind-blowing, especially understanding these kinds of incidences personally as well. They didn't do what the British government and police force are telling citizens to do during these types of events: run, hide, and tell. Individuals didn't take out their phones to capture video. They decided to fight back against this madman. And they did so while the police were still not on the scene, or even pictured here hiding. Now, of course, there were some police officers that did rush to the scene, but ultimately it was these brave individuals, citizens, that took up whatever they had near them, including a fire extinguisher, their bare hands, and even a narwhal tusk that was hanging up on a wall, to fight off this mad jihadi and stopping from injuring and killing more innocent civilians in the street. And these men are absolute heroes, and they deserve recognition, like this Polish chef whose name is Lukasz, who was the one that grabbed the narwhal tusk to go after this jihadi. An action that, again, is just inspiring a large number of people and giving them hope in humanity when they've been failed so many times beforehand. It's also important to note that at the same time that this was happening, there was also an evacuation and an explosive device found in a bag at a Paris train station. This is actually literally the train station that I was at just a few days ago, by the way. Now, again, it's very important to note here that it was average citizens that took this guy down, that brought him to the floor, that disarmed him, took away his knife, and then the police moved in, and because he was wearing a makeshift fake suicide vest, they shot and killed him on the site already when he was on the ground, disabled. Now, already this jumps at me because this is almost the same identical situation that happened to my friend Joe Lazito in New York City, that took down a crazed serial killer with a butcher knife on the New York City subway station. In doing so, Joe was repeatedly stabbed all throughout his body, lost consciousness, and almost died as two armed NYPD officers were literally behind a door watching, knowing the situation, knowing who this mass murderer was. And then when Joe Lazito finally disarmed him, finally took his knife away, finally tackled him to the ground, and totally disabled him and detained him. Then the NYPD moved in, Joe's body away, declared themselves the heroes of New York City, and then argued in a court of law that the police officers have no duty to protect and serve you. Which again, these incidences and these types of photos that you're seeing here happen more often than you think. And legally, on the backdrop of this event, it's important for you to know, especially in the United States, police officers don't need to protect and serve you. There could be a crime going on, they could ignore it legally, and that's what they argue for. Now again, it's important to also mention here, this is just one way that the system routinely fails during these kinds of situations, as we're getting information right now that this Pakistani jihadi was actually a convicted terrorist who was on probation, even previously being a guest at Cambridge University at a sponsored conference about supposed prison rehabilitation. You literally can't make this stuff up. This Usman Khan was released after he plotted to blow up the stock exchange. And it wasn't just him. It was also his 5 other accomplices that are also free, walking the streets right now. Why? Well, we're getting headlines that he won his appeal and was released early because he claimed that his prison sentence was too long. I'm sorry, I'm sorry for laughing, but there's no other way to respond to this lunacy than either just by laughing or crying, to be honest with you. I mean, this man was automatically freed when a judge said that he would serve life in prison. And again, this couldn't get more bizarre. Even if the authorities tried to make this story more bizarre. And again, this is not the first time that these kinds of incidences happened, which we're going to go over in just a little bit. But this Pakistani jihadi most likely was a low IQ, low impulse control, whose emotions could be very easily manipulated by a most likely Saudi Arabian school or mosque that preaches and promotes Wahhabism. This is where most of the terrorism in the West comes from, and it is directly supported by UK and US foreign policy, incentivizing, financing Saudi Arabia that egregiously does this on the world stage. Meanwhile, the only thing that we hear about from our government, especially in the West, is the dangers of Iran, which again is not financing the schools and mosques that these Wahhabists are coming out of and are financing and doing these actions. I'll bet your bottom dollar that this man's ties go all the way back to Saudi Arabia, especially in the institutions where he was radicalized. And the people responsible for letting this crazed madman off because of a letter do deserve high level of scrutiny, to say the least. And again, as we showed you with our interview that we highlighted on this YouTube channel, who is, by the way, is a State Department whistleblower that exposed how the top guys at the State Department, the top guys at the U.S. intelligence agencies were automatically giving blanket visas and forcing visas for jihadis to enter the United States, especially right before 9/11, since again, the hijackers, which predominantly came from Saudi Arabia, which no one wants to talk about in the mainstream media, many of them were on do not let in lists. Someone from the top forced that issue and made sure the jihadis that came in and committed terrorism in the United States would be allowed in with their visas approved from the very top. Again, this video, as well as the Joe Lizito video, will be available in the description below. I definitely recommend you check out those videos for greater context, because this is not the first time the establishment, the systems, the government institutions have been caught collaborating, working with, and letting off jihadis that cause harm to, of course, innocent civilians, like the innocent civilians that were targeted today and sadly are no longer with us. Sadly, we're robbed of the gift of life. Why? Well, because of the incompetency and complicity of government forcing this on us in many different ways. And as people like the jihadi today are let go, the police department, which again, in the United Kingdom, reportedly is being stretched thin, is focusing on social justice warrior nonsense, like spending $23,000 on gender-neutral caps. I remember walking the streets not so long ago in the United Kingdom, talking to random people, doing a video where I talked about free speech. And even then, randomly, out of nowhere, I met an individual who was prosecuted for gender hate speech because he called the random person walking by a bloke. You know what? I'm also just going to put that video in the description below so you can understand just the craziness that's happening in the United Kingdom. And again, all of this is just happening with the complicity of the mainstream media, many times promoting and pushing a lot of the bigger agenda that causes a lot of this pain and havoc that essentially private interests and the government wants, because it has people rushing to them as saviors. And as more of these events happen, as more of them unfold, I hope we could share the truth of them so we can understand the bigger scheme, the bigger evils that are happening here, and how ultimately, I don't care what you say, the government is responsible here in more ways than one. And thank goodness for brave individuals that took it in their own hands to stop this madman creating a situation that would only benefit more government. It's actions like this, it's bravery like this that is exposing the absolute agenda and nonsense that is the government nanny state. That's my take on it. What do you think? You might think I'm wrong. That's fine. Guess what? I won't block you or censor you in the comment section below. Feel free to voice your discontent freely, because that's what we're supposed to do to progress society. It's regressive when you limit people's voices, when you censor people, when you try to throw them in jail for simply using words, which seems to me the priority in the United Kingdom. Again, what's happening there is just absolutely maddening. This is my take on it. Let's have a debate. Let's have a conversation down below. Share this video with your friends and family members, because I'll bet you your bottom dollar this video is going to be demonetized as soon as it comes out, regardless of the little generic title that I probably have in there. Maybe. I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated on my Twitter account. But if you can't, share this video. It absolutely means the world to us, especially with how screwed over we've been getting by the YouTube. But again, we're still here, mainly because of you. That's why. Love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.